Welcome to episode 2, Inside the Lines, Different Walks of Life. With who we have here today, we have Sarge. We're about to learn the journey of a Raven. Can you tell us about yourself?
Where do I start? My age, where I'm from Brooklyn, New York, born and raised. Loving father, uncle, brother, Fred. Work for the city of New York in healthcare in a hospital. I'm a basketball coach and football coach. And I guess I'm going to start taking on being a motivator there.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So tell us, all right, so what we want to really do is tap in because there's a lot of things that you've done. There's a lot of places you've been. What really strikes is your love for sports.
Yeah. I grew up and, in my neighborhood in Bayside, Brooklyn, it was really one of those things that cliche that Big used. Either you slung rock or you had a wicked jump shot. So it started with basketball. I was good at playing basketball, but I was a late bloomer. So a lot of my friends and my peers got out the hood quick. And, me being one of 9 kids.
Wow, 9 kids.
My mother raising us the way she did, it was how, really didn't have a father figure around. My step-pops was there every now and then, but, my father wasn't there.
No.
So, looking for different ways or trying to find a way to get out the hood, sports was it. Me, I have a brother that's 1 year younger than me. We would do any and everything to just play sports, whether it would be football or basketball.
So all right, so now we see basketball. What type of programs did y'all have to invest in? You figure you say a house of 9 kids.
A house of 9 kids in my neighborhood. We had the YMCA or the PAL.
Yeah, all right.
PAL was pretty much more just recreation. If you really wanted to take it serious,
Yeah.
you go to the YMCA. So when I joined the YMCA, I went through from the bottom level up how to learn how to play basketball, learn the ins and outs. This is how it's played. Then I went to a coach that showed me how to shoot, showed me how to dribble. So now I had the skills to apply going to try to play when I was in high school.
So now as we see that, as we talk about coaches, so now we fast forward. We fast forward to the life that you just learned how to shoot, dribble.
Yeah.
Now we flip it. Now you the coach.
Yeah. Because I was, grateful enough to have those individuals show me the way. Once I got into coaching, I didn't care about the recognition. I cared more about giving back. Doing for somebody what somebody did for me.
That's dope. That's dope. So basically the giving back part, as you see what was your advice to kids that was giving up? Because as you know, being a coach, you deal with people's personal life.
Yeah.
So at a young age, you had to deal with being actually, how we say it, a sports therapist to people.
Yeah. One of the most difficult things when it comes to coaching, especially with kids, the average kid playing any sport, because it's so pure and innocent, want to see their teammate do better. They don't understand the difference that early age that, Maine, you're the superstar. I'm the coach, the coach.
Yeah.
I got to, coexist with you. You taking us to the next level. They don't look at it that way. They look at it like, ain't nice. I'm on the same team with Maine, who's nice. But once you get into coaching, it's very hard, very difficult to, get across to that child. You can be just as good as Maine too, if you put that work in. Where, you have the same opportunity he has.
That's cool. So what's because we see as a coach, basically we see the coach, we see the therapy, see the mentorship. Who was the biggest influencer in your life? You say you speak about your mother.
Yeah.
So how was your transition through life with your mom?
My transition was pretty more, she gave us the best of whatever she could afford to give us, and based on the way life, we was on welfare. We grew up on welfare. She did whatever she could to raise us. So for her, sports came way behind. She wasn't really trying to hear it. Unless, you had to stand out and be nice. So, the kids would, in the neighborhood, our peers, would come and get me and my brother. Or, I had a coach come, sit in my mother's living room and wanted me to play football. This is how,
What coach was that?
uh, he played at the time. He had just graduated from the University of Alabama. Randall Austin was his name. Randall Williams, I'm sorry. But he was a part of the flag football tournament right here at Mount Haven in the Bronx, behind the school. And he just so happened to move to Brooklyn.
And that's our Sparrow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Al Johnson ran that. The commissioner Al Johnson.
Yeah, I know
ran
you're
that.
talking about.
Yeah. So he was, he was real cool with Al Johnson, and he had just moved to Brooklyn. So he, came to the park one day, and it went from just throwing the football around to he started a team from Brooklyn to start bringing, coming to the Bronx. So once that took place, it was only 2 quarterbacks. Because I broke my arm when I was 9, and my right arm just ended up growing back stronger before I broke it. So I just knew how to throw. Never knew anything about quarterback. I just knew how to throw. Tiki family, his cousins lived around in Bed-Stuy. Tiki was from Red Hook. So he would spend the weekends over there. So it was only 2 guys going out for quarterbacking, me because I could throw, but Tiki actually threw in high school, Beach Channel. He was the Beach Channel quarterback.
Went to Queens?
Yeah.
Wow.
He
New
threw
thing.
for Beach Channel. Tiki was nice. Had a arm. When I seen Tiki arm, it was one of those things where I know I ain't getting the starting job. He got it. So I end up being a wide receiver tight end and just mastered playing the different positions of football. But I got good at it to the point where the coach went and told my mother, your son, he got potential. And my brother had potential too. So she was one of those, my mother was very religious. And it was one of those things to be. If she said, God says you ain't doing it, you ain't doing it. So, I missed a few games. We had a big game in the Bronx versus one of the rival teams, the local teams for the Bronx, and they needed me. And she was just like, nah, she had a dream. And God came down and she was like, nah, you ain't going. You're not going. She was like, I don't. He said that. He pleaded with her. She was like, nah.
What was the mindset of you in the room?
Mindset in the room.
You gotta say the room. You know the room.
She's at the door talking.
You gotta go.
I'm in the room. I'm in the room like, I'm like, here's something that I really fell in love with. And this is the first real obstacle to where I'm being told, no matter how good you are, how much you love it, no. No is no. I was depressed the entire Saturday. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I stayed in my room. And I'm just like, but we ended up winning. So when I heard we won, they came back to the block, yelling at the window, yo, we won, son, yo. Okay, I'm good now. We won. I really missed that game. But that's when I fell in love with it. And then my brother was always, we were always like stocky or big, but he was always big. And I ended up going to automotive high school. No football team, strictly basketball, but I did both. My brother did. My brother ended up going to Abraham Lincoln, Coney Island, from Bed-Stuy to Coney Island. This is at the time Lincoln was number 1 in the city. They had the running back Frankie St. Clair, and I forgot the quarterback dude. But my brother played defense and offensive line. So back then, they send you home with the paper, letting your family know, listen, this is a contact sport, a full contact sport. It's dangerous.
You can't play.
You can't sue what your child's playing. Once my mother seen that, she told him, you are not playing on anybody's football field. And she was like, do you see what this paper say? You could break your neck or your
That's it's crazy. If you ever seen that paper, that's the worst paper you could ever read.
You got to read it, and I got to take this to my mom, like my pops. Oh, I'm definitely not going to be a part of this team. You know what I mean? And at that time, my brother was dedicated. Like, he would get up 5 o'clock in the morning to travel on the train all the way to Coney Island, to make sure he made class and was eligible to play football. She said, nah. So he had to find something else. He dropped out of school, but ended up finishing that Job Corps. Took up, being a barber as a trade, became one of the best barbers out in Brooklyn. So now I'm like, okay, that's,
That's
what
what
I'm
you
gonna
gonna
do.
do, right?
What I'm gonna do. So I was like, okay, I can't go the football route. She already said no to that, but she was open to basketball. So I picked up basketball. Worked on it as much as I could or whatever. But again, if you look at who my age group was in the city, specifically with that YMCA in my neighborhood, we talking Mo Brown, St. John's, Stephon Marbury going to Georgia Tech. Those are in my age group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like, I'm not lying to myself. And then my coaches at the Y wasn't going to lie to me. Like, bro, you just starting. You're a late bloomer. You ain't on their level. They packing local gyms to come see these kids.
Yeah.
I'm one of the fans. Like, you know what I mean? So it was like, I had a lot of work. Even when I did go to, end up going to college for basketball, I got called at the end of the summer. School started in August. One of the coaches, Larry Major, God bless his dad, he was the high school coach at Paul Robeson. And I played in this back to school tournament. And he came to me after the championship game. He was like, yo, you ever think about going to school for ball? I couldn't talk. Just that just the way that conversation was going. I'm like, nah, school, basketball. So he was like, yeah, I got a school, a couple of schools you'll be interested in. And he gave me the list. I went home, couldn't tell me nothing the way I took the information to my mom. Yo, mom, look at this. Like, I could go to school. She was like, and I would have been the first of her 9 to go to college, and I was. So she was like, you go to college, playing basketball. Who gonna take care of you? Where you gonna live? Now she's interested
But
in it.
the protection part is there.
Protection part. So I end up leaving for the second semester that started in January. When I got to the school, the coach, took my weight, seen my height. He was like, what position you play? So I was like, power forward. He said, you were short for a power forward. But, I was stocky. So certain things I didn't have to do that the other team did. But I ended up paying for it. Like, I didn't have to go so hard with the weights because I had, weight on me.
Oh, yeah, the upside.
But I would substitute with that with more running. And, I've never been through these strategic type of collegiate trainings. So I'm going through one day, then it's Division III. So it's like you work out with the team, you practice with the team, but there's no guarantee you're going to play with the team. So, mentally, I'm 7 hours away from home. I'm practicing like I'm playing. I'm working out like I'm playing, but I know in the back of my head, there's no, real chance of me, getting on the court. So I just pretty much took the knowledge for it. So I end up changing my major and to general studies to where I could just take whatever I want. And one of the classes I ended up taking, well, 2 major classes. One was the principles of speeching, the principles of speeching and principles of coaching. Principles of coaching was deep. I passed that with an A+. But it breaks down the different levels of coaching. Although we use wins and losses with middle school and high school kids. Mm-hmm. At high school, it really shouldn't count until the 11th grade because 11th grade going forward, college, you're getting ready to be, turn profession.
Oh, okay.
But it should be just, from middle school and the JV teaching, how you act, wins, losses, competition-wise, how, sportsmanship and things of that nature. So, I had hands-on training with that.
So how was the conversations? Because I'm listening to you as, there's a storyline in it. There's the ups and downs to it. How was the conversations with your moms? You 7 hours away from home, correct?
Yeah.
7 hours away from home. The only first kid from the house of 9 that went away to school. Mm-hmm. So how was the conversations when you realized you wasn't getting on the court?
I pretty much, she knew I went up there predominantly based on sports. But it had, it was a decision I made that I could have easily said, I'm not playing, I'm giving up, I'm going back home.
Yeah.
But for some apparent reason, I was one of those kids, based on how I grew up, I wanted to get out the hood. So even though it was 7 hours away, it was out of the hood.
Yeah.
So now, reality is sitting in. I know I'm not getting on the court no time soon. However, I have a golden opportunity to still do something nobody in my family has done yet, which is got a college degree. So I said, you know what? Let me just go ahead and do what I got to do to get my degree. You know what I mean? Maybe it wasn't, it wasn't meant for me to play, which I never did.
Yeah.
I never played, but I stayed close to the game. When I changed over to radio, television, and broadcasting, I ended up, broadcasting and videotaping some of the games. So I was always around the team, and everybody knew me. So the notoriety,
It
kept
was
me
there.
in school. And the fact that, again, I was out of the hood. So I would come home for vacations and, just, the notoriety, yo, you home for the summer, this, that, and the third. Nobody really got to know my story, but I'm not here.
Yeah.
I'm not putting myself on the heavy part of becoming another statistic. One of my best friends right now, he's been locked up since 1999. Haven't seen the light of day for something he didn't even do.
Wow.
And he had a better chance of making it to the NFL than any of us. He was a freak of nature, like a dog. 99 was the last time he ever seen outside. Still locked up to this day.
Damn.
So, I looked at those type of things. It was like, I made it out the hood and I got a chance to get my education. That's what I got.
So now you get the education. Now where you go from there?
I came back home. I changed. I pretty much, once I got into the mode of you prioritize your life. So now I'm going to school. Like, I'm really going to school.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking forward to my summers. Coming home for the summer, people in the basketball circle knew I was away at school. So the more you away at school and people know, you're one of the first they call to be put on the team.
On a team, yeah, when you come back.
So I come home and I played for one of the top organizations in Brooklyn, Kenny Kings at the time, who had some of the top players. I got a little bit of playing time, but again, notoriety. We had the fly clothes, the fly sleeving. If you played for Kenny Kings, everybody knew you played for Kenny Kings.
Yeah.
So I had an opportunity, I had a conversation with this gentleman at the barbershop my brother was working at, and it just so happened he had an organization. And he was like, my organization, I don't turn nobody away. But speaking to him, it was more teaching of how to go about it. So I ended up not playing for Kenny Kings no more, and I ended up a diamond. I'm from Bedford-Stuyvesant. He's from Brownsville. His entire organization, everybody that made it or had a name for themselves at high school, is from Brownsville. I'm the only one from Bedford-Stuyvesant, a part of this organization. But it was a learning experience because I was thrown to the wolves. I'm 19 playing unlimited against some of the best teams and the best players. So I'm getting that notoriety. So people, that knew me from around my way in my hood, it's like, yo, you playing in such and such, and how? Like, you ain't that good or whatever. And, you got to block certain things out. But again, it was, he gave me my first real shot. And every summer, I came home after that because I ended up living upstate for a little bit after I graduated from college. But every time I came home for the summer, it was already set in stone. I couldn't come to you and be like, yo, man, let me get a shirt. Nah, you a diamond. You got an organization already. So and from there, it just led on to growing within the organization. And I got to the point that where I didn't want to play no more. And he was at the point that where he was looking for, someone to take on the coaching role because he wanted to give it up. So I just jumped right in it.
Wow. Wow. Man. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's real interesting. So now you taking on the role of coaching. How was your first season like? And on top of that, we still can't miss the fact that we still talking on you and your mother's relationship, your family relationship, how things are going.
Yeah.
So how is that? Because at the same token, the first thing you hear once you done with school, what you gonna do next from your mother?
What you do next? So some of the conversations, my mother had, she would call me and we would spend, numerous amount of times on the phone. She wondering, did I eat? How's my health? How was school? My living arrangements and things of that nature. But for me, just to ease her thoughts, it came across for me like, man, like this is paradise. Like I got my own apartment, she knew my roommate because he was from Brooklyn too. So she met him, and I'm like, oh, me and Daryl, we got this, we got that, we got cable, food is, it's affordable up here. Like, nothing is expensive. College kids run the town, everything is smooth. So it eased her thoughts a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I would still, mother's gonna be a mother regardless.
Yeah.
I would still get those phone calls sometimes in the middle of the night. She'd be like, I was just thinking about you. You was heavy on my mind. Is everything okay? So yeah, everything's good or whatever. So but after a while, it was one of those things to where sooner or later you gotta let them off the leash. So going towards me about to graduate, it was pretty much like, my son is a college kid now. I can, loosen the rope a little bit. I ain't got to be so, much on top of him. And then my baby sister, she had started college locally in Brooklyn at the College of New Rochelle.
Yeah.
So now, she's worried about me. She's worried about my sister. But it's like, it's a breath of fresh air for her because she's like, out of my 9 kids, she was very big on education. I got 2 that took it the next level and went to college.
Yeah.
So those conversations pretty much became more about life, more going forward than her being more concerned.
Awesome. That's what's up. So now as we push forward, your son is born.
Yeah.
Hold on, we got we got this is to me, because I always ask people when it comes to that first time I'm pregnant. How like, that's like, to me, the reason why I say that, and for black men I say this, is when you hear that, you already know the stigma of us.
Yeah.
So now you single parent home, house of 9. Now you're being told I'm pregnant. Your first thought, and then I want to hear the after, because not everybody gonna just run to mom.
So okay. So first and foremost, my son was born in 2007. My mother passed away 2006.
Okay.
Year later, he's born. But the young lady, my son, I hate to say his son's mother, but Jackie, you know Jackie.
Yeah.
So the time my mother was sick, I was dealing with somebody else. But I'm talking to Jackie. And at the time my mother was sick, I don't care, not my sister, my brother, my best friend, nobody. I would only feel comfortable confided in her. So now, my mother's sick, and she's pretty much walking me through, how to go about it. Just being that support system or whatever. So now, my mother passed away, and this was like her 3rd time coming to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So now I'm back upstate. I'm, going back and forth every other week, every other month. I'm coming down to visit to the Bronx where she lived. And we had a conversation about kids. And because the way my life was set up at the time, okay, so we had a conversation. And, just based on the way, I'm dealing with certain, but I'm single. Like, I'm single, I'm in college. I'm around different females. I'm, really, starting to find out who I am as a young adult. So we had the conversation, a heart to heart. How do you feel about, having kids? And I was one of my mother's favorite. So the fact that she had just passed away a year ago, and, like I said, the way my life was set up, I'm like, I don't want no kids. I can't afford no kids right now. Nah, that's going to fuck up what I got going on. You know what I mean? That lifestyle, I'm in my late 20s. So, I'm coming and going as I please, talking to this one, that one, or whatever. We ain't got time for a kid yet. But, funny to show you how God works. So, we had that conversation, and I never heard nothing until 3 months later. I came to visit, and I usually would come down and rent a hotel for the weekend. This weekend in general, I stayed with her. So the whole time, the whole weekend, she acting antsy, but, different than she usually act. So here it comes Sunday. It's time for me to leave and go back upstate. And it was just one of those things. She was like, yo, I got to talk to you about something. I'm like, what's up? She was like, I don't know how to say it, but I'm going to just come out and say it. I'm like, yo, just say what you got to say. She was like, I know we had a conversation, and I know how you feel about having kids or whatever. She was like, but, I'm 4 months pregnant.
Oof.
My face dropped as if I seen my mother in the physical come through the door. So I'm like, it ain't even registering yet. So she's like, no, I know how you feel. These are her exact words. She said, I know how you feel about not wanting the kids. She said, and I give you my word, and I swear to God, if you don't want to be a part of, with this kid, she said, just sign over your rights. She said, I promise you, I'll never bother you, your family, or nobody. I'll never know you got a child. So, I did the knucklehead hood nigga shit, you had this baby, ain't no nigga gonna be there. You gonna be another single mother, like, that's what you gonna do? You telling me, like, I don't have no choice in the matter? You gonna have the baby or whatever? So, Jackie's not argumentative. So she let me say my piece and left it at that. But I never said nothing to nobody about her being pregnant. So now we fast forward till she's about to give birth. I come back to visit, and we on, better terms. So she's, she go ahead and she's about to have the baby or whatever, and I end up going back upstate around my friends. Never smoked weed a day in my life. Would drink every now and then, but never smoked weed. This particular weekend, I'm smoking exotic weed and drinking. That's how stressed out I was. Wake up the next morning and my homeboys and everybody congratulate me. Yo, son, you about to be a father, bro? Like, for real? I'm like, yo, who told y'all that? Where you at from? They was like, yo, bro, you did. You told us, shorty back home about to have a bit. Since that day, I've never smoked another day of my life. Like, that's what it did
That's
to me.
what you did? You started telling.
True, sir. So